Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'm excited today to talk to you a little bit about some work that we have been doing for the past few years. We got involved with Smart on Fire very early on, where we got to participate with Josh and Cerner, Josh Mandel at Smart and Cerner Harris, and we started working on building our own apps and integrating them and trying to figure out before we even had the security model in place. But ever since then, HSPC has really dove in and wanting to be a supporter of FHIR and Smart on Fire. So just to give you a little bit of background so that you understand our motives, where we're coming from, because what I'm going to show you I think is really cool. And the question I always get is, well, what's the catch? This can't all be free. And so HSPC is a consortium that has the mission of creating an open ecosystem for interoperable apps, knowledge assets, terminology, platforms, applications. That's the goal. The vision is ultimately to improve health and healthcare. And so we are a provider-led consortium. And what that means is that anyone can join the HSPC, but we have to have a certain number of providers that exceeds on our board of directors the number of other types of entities. So that way we always ensure that we're in touch with what the providers want and need. That's what our guiding force is. So what we've done is we said, all right, Smart on Fire really looks like the sort of thing that could help accomplish this mission and achieve our vision. And so one of the things that HSPC has done is created the HSPC Developers Portfolio. And I'm going to show you those things today. In particular, we have a developers portal, and that developers portal is meant to introduce people to the concepts behind Smart on Fire, the different tools that are out there, the SDKs, APIs, other things. So I'm hoping today that over the past couple of days, actually, that we can identify more resources that we can put into this portal so that people can be guided towards your tools and your solutions. We have a sandbox, and that term sandbox gets thrown around a lot. I'm going to show you how our sandbox is a little bit different and is geared towards the development phase and testing phase of building your apps in preparation to eventually going to Allscripts or Cerner or Epic's sandbox and eventually into production. And then we have a gallery. We really want to show to the world. We have to work on that chicken and egg problem. We have to have a number of really cool apps, and we have to have a number of platforms that are in production that creates an ecosystem that will eventually feed on itself and grow. So our gallery's purpose is to demonstrate to the world the really cool work that you guys are doing, and therefore build in the need or the desire to have a Smart on Fire capable EHR in their hospital. We want that to be the selling point. So number one, we have a website called the HSPC Developers website, and what's in there is SDKs and libraries. Some have been created by other parties. The HSPC has created a few themselves. They're all open source, and they're designed to make creating Smart on Fire apps really a lot faster. As well as there's samples and tutorials and guides. So if you're looking at how do you get your security pieces in place, and how to use these SDKs to the best of your ability, we've got the examples for you. And then there's documentation that gives a little more details if you need to dive in a little bit deeper. And then there's the sandbox, and this is where I want to spend the bulk of my time. So that's why I'm kind of moving fast, because I want to spend some time just looking at it. But before I do that, I just want to let you know that what the goals are is to create your very own Smart on Fire capable system in the cloud. And you can invite other people to join, so it's team-based, as well as it's designed to help you build your app as quickly as possible, get clinicians or users to come in and give you buy-off on what it is that you're doing, and then eventually take it into production. And then also, like I said, it's HSPC's goal to contribute to the community. Let's just go straight into it. All right, so when you get here, you can go ahead and create your own free account. I've already got one. Oh. There we go. All right, and then the first step that you would do is you'd go create your sandbox. And the sandbox right now, when I create this, let's call this 2017, you'll see that it created a URL. So this is going to be the endpoint for your sandbox, and this will be where your FHIR server is. You can create a name for it that's a little more friendly to see. And then you can choose the version of FHIR that you want to use. So when the final version STU3 comes out, we'll make that available. But obviously you want to have both, because we're trying to also be a place where you can do the connectathons, where you can do academic courses, or also if you're doing DSU2, you want to be able to go into production. That's what you're going to see at Allscripts and Cerner and Epic. And so in this case, I'll just choose DSU2. You can choose, and you can change this afterwards to open up and just make it an open FHIR server, so there's no security there. That's nice to temporarily load in a bunch of data and hit your endpoint, or if you're just trying to get started real quickly. Although I will say with the SDKs that are out there, there's no reason to skip the security step. You can have your security in place in just a few lines of code, and then add some comments here. I'm not going to go through with it, but what you would see, well, actually, let me just do it. I'm going to do it, because I want you guys to see that it goes fast. So what's going on right now is we're creating your very own HSPC or Smart on FHIR sandbox in the cloud. We run it in Amazon, and it's loading it full of some default data, and it's going to give you this place where now you can go develop your code and then bring people in to take a look at it. I'm going to skip over to a different one that I've loaded up with some interesting information so that you can see how you would use it. And I'll start at the bottom. The first one is you can turn on and off the open. You can even delete it. You can get some information on your URLs. But here's the thing that I wanted to show you is that you can send invites. So we wanted you to be able to build a team. In fact, we've used this. We do work with the University of Utah, and we invite the University of Utah and their analysts to be able to come in and log into our sandbox and click on scenarios to make sure that the application's behaving just the way it's supposed to for that type of a patient in that scenario. So I'll send myself an invite, and I get an email on my phone right here, which you won't be able to see, but you're going to just have to trust me that it works. Oh, there it is. I'm sure you could see that. Then I'm going to skip over to data. Jason, this is where I think Cynthia comes in really nice, is that we're looking to collaborate with other people. So we're thinking that Cynthia thing we saw yesterday was really cool. And wouldn't it be great if you could figure out a way to use that to generate more interesting data for you right here. But if you don't, we can import JSON bundles, and you can do export of your data. And then we have a little query browser that lets you execute queries and start learning how to do FHIR queries and test your stuff before you go put it in your code and make sure that you're getting the results back that you're expecting. Then the next step is, after you've got some data in there, is to go ahead and register your app, and we'll walk you through the process of doing that so that you can get your scope set up just right, so that when it's time to go to Epic or Cerner or Allscripts, you've already worked through some of that, hopefully, so that will go a little bit smoother. I'm going to skip past that really fast. Then we've got areas where you can go and build practitioner and patient records themselves, or navigate, some of the things that they have. So you can see some of the data summary that they have. We're actually going to improve this a little bit so that we can break observations down into categories, so you can see if this particular patient has the types of observations that you're interested in just a glance. And then we introduce this concept of a persona. A persona is kind of simulating what you'd see in the real world, taking a FHIR record or a clinical resource, in this case we'll say a patient, and then we're going to associate that to a user and make that connection, give them a username and password so that you can do either a standalone, if you're writing an app like an iPad app that you want to be able to run detached, you'll need that username and password to be able to do that. And then if you're doing embedded one, then it'll still work just the way that you would expect it. So we'll simulate the experience you would have if you were running embedded inside of a Smart on FHIR platform, like we see a lot of. And I'll show that here in a second. So this is an important step so that you can run against your FHIR sandbox or your Smart on FHIR sandbox detached. Then the last thing is to tie it all together with what we call A launch scenario. A launch scenario allows you to build up the context that your application will launch with. So you want to identify if you've built up a patient that has just the right set of clinical data to demonstrate a specific functionality inside of your application, then you take that patient, you assign it some context. So I've got this bilirubin app that we wrote a while back. And what you'll do is you can go in and you can say, I'm going to say it's this practitioner with this patient, and then if there was an encounter and location or additional context parameters that you can pass through using Smart on FHIR, you can use that, and then you can test it. This is really great because if there is something specific that you want to get feedback on or you're trying to test, you build your patient record and you just quickly, you make your changes, you deploy it to your server, you open up your sandbox, you click on the launch scenario, and it takes care of building all the context for you and it launches it immediately. So we can see in this case, I don't know what would be interesting about this one to test other than it worked. But in the case like if this was one where it went above a certain threshold and you needed to see that the advice was being given that you should do a blood transfusion, you'd want to see that happens right here. Time is just flying by. Let's see. The last thing I want to show you is okay. So that's the sandbox. And it's all open source. It's free to use. So either use it in the cloud or pull it down and use it behind your own firewall. Okay, and then I just really quickly wanted to show you our website, our portal. So this is meant to introduce people who aren't familiar with Smart on FHIR and what it's capable of, so they can scroll through there. Then we have a gallery. So there are some of you I've already talked to and others I hope to reach out to that where we are highlighting applications that we think are really doing interesting things, and then we give you the ability to see it in action. I'm not going to click on that right now. And then Build kind of introduces you to the sandbox and how you go get that, as well as Learn would take you over to our wiki where we have all sorts of samples and tutorials. One other thing that I wanted to tell you guys about is that HSPC is putting on a developers conference in New Orleans at the end of the month. Allscripts, Cerner, and Epic will all be there demonstrating their developer programs as well as the financial models for their app stores and App Orchard. And as well as we'll have a whole bunch of prominent developers going through the various things. So we'd love to see you out there. This is a chance for people to really see how will you operate inside of this emerging ecosystem. Now we've gone from this is going to be really cool to now you can make a business doing this. And so we're really excited about this developers conference because you'll get the chance to learn about how you will integrate in an Epic or Allscripts or a Cerner hospital system. I think I'm out of time, so let me just see if I covered everything. Hopefully the slides will be presented, and then that's it. That's it. Thank you very much.